Welcome to In Touch Crime Beat. I'm Officer Don with Fayette Commonwealth's Attorney Ray Larson.
Out of jail, okay? Don't mess up.
And those are the people, those repeat offenders, the ones that go to prison. And
I say we're the #1 rated radio show in the whole country.
About 6 years ago, a young woman was awakened to find some guy on top of her forcing sex on her. And when she woke up, she just started howling and screaming, carrying on. Now, no question, she'd had something to drink, but this guy ran. Well, they took they took her to the hospital, and there they took a PERT kit, physical evidence recovery kit, and they obtained some semen from her, and they put it in the system, and several 4 or 5 years later, they run these things again, and there's this guy out in California who was arrested, and they did a DNA swab on him. Guess what? Bang! You got a hit. This guy's the semen they recovered from the body of the girl in Lexington 4 or 5 years earlier has the DNA that was matched to this guy. So we extradited this guy back from California, and he ended up pleading guilty to a rape charge. And that's the value of this thing. Now let me tell you what the language of the Supreme Court opinion was. It says DNA identification of arrestees is a reasonable search, because it is it's subject to search, can be considered a part of a routine booking procedure. Taking and analyzing a cheap swab of an arrestee's DNA, like fingerprinting and photographing, is a legitimate police booking procedure, is reasonable under the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. So that's the legal language that allows this. Now you said, and it said it has to be a serious crime.
Which was part of this ruling too,
Yeah.
because in some jurisdictions, they were taking DNA swabs on everyone that they
That was
charged.
arrested for anything.
Which, I mean, personally, I'm like, here, you can have it, whatever. But they did define it has to be serious crime, which we would assume would probably be a felony or serious assault, burglary. I mean, is that what they're going to consider? Have they defined that? Or are they gonna let the
Well,
states
I'm
look
not
at
sure
that?
where they have or they haven't.
They probably will wind up letting that being appealed somewhere too. It's like, well, we consider burglary serious, and then someone will go, well, that's not what they meant.
Well, our legislature doesn't consider.
Yeah.
This gets back into the matter of fact, our legislature and the Indiana legislature defeated proposals that would have done just this.
Allowed the DNA?
Yeah, I mean the state legislature. See, this was a Maryland case.
So in Kentucky, they will not be taking rapist DNA or people who commit assaults?
Seriously, I mean they voted down this kind of a proposal. See, we still have to now go through a search warrant process. Yeah, but this goes back to the legislature. It all goes back to the legislature. So, I mean, it's something, Officer Don is just like me. See, one of the things that when Mike DeGero, whose son Trent was killed, assassinated by Shane Ragland years ago, Mike DeGero, Trent's father, does not want that gun in circuit, doesn't want it back on the street. He does not.
This is the rifle that was used
to
shoot Trent DeGero.
He wants that destroyed. He doesn't want it out there for somebody else to have it.
Listen, I told him years ago. I remember him asking me. He said, "Hey, detective, that rifle that was used, they won't get that back, will they? That'll be destroyed, won't it?" And I said, "Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, I can do that for you." I remember because I thought, well, yeah, that's reasonable. I mean, I'm going to give that rifle back to anyone. Oh, but I was wrong, because there's a state law that says this is what you're getting to. that as a police officer, I have to give that rifle back.
What you have to do
It has
is turn it over to the state
I mean,
police.
back to the street. It goes back to the street by law.
Well, here's what happens. The law says it has to be sent to the state police to be auctioned, and only federally licensed firearms dealers can buy those. But then they put them in their store and sell them, say to anybody.
Or, you know, someone could, and I don't know what kind of sick bastard.
Now wait a minute, I'm
would
not
do this.
finished.
They could make a souvenir and auction, you know, buy it and then auction it off as the famous gun that did whatever, right?
Well, one of the things that's of great concern is every time I talk about me being in favor of that, and I put it on our little Facebook page, Ray the DA Facebook page, well, I get all kind of abuse from people out there thinking this is not a great idea, and that it's a slippery slope and don't be destroying guns and that sort of thing. And let me tell you something, this has nothing to do with gun control. This has everything to do with the survivors of homicide victims' peace of mind. I mean, it's a...
Well, you're not known as a gun control advocate. You've said very openly that you think that people have a right to carry weapons
Heck
or
yeah.
own weapons. You have no problem with that.
Did I tell you did I tell you that somebody told me the gun to have in your house was a pump shotgun? And I said, oh yeah, why is that? He says the universally recognized sound by everybody in this world is that chick that goes with a pump shotgun being primed and ready to roll.
Oh, I can tell you, even as a cop, you know, when you're rolling up on something and you hear your partner behind there jack around into the shotgun, even though your partner's got the shotgun and you hear it, it takes the adrenaline up a little bit. You're like, well, I'm glad that dude's my partner. You know, so no doubt about that. Well, interesting stuff. This case in Colorado, you know, it's sort of like the O.J. Simpson case. I think a lot of people get to see what exactly goes on in our criminal justice system that on a daily basis, but maybe they're going on with their lives and they don't see it until something horrific like this happens. And sometimes, you know, it gets pretty silly, and it's a shame. So we'll follow this case in Colorado and see what happens with this guy. I mean, ultimately, this guy's not going to walk. I mean, but it's a shame that you have to kill that many people before you can say that. I mean, if he had shot one person or two people, I wouldn't be able to make that blanket statement because you just never know what's going to happen. But
Can I say something
Sure.
here? On our webpage, we're starting to do something new and fancy. It's called podcasts, because you told me that you listen to podcasts all the time.
well, I told you I download the most boring ones and then I
Go to
listen
sleep.
as I go to sleep.
Yeah,
So I thought
well-
this would be a candidate. If we could do podcasts here, then it
Yeah,
might help people.
Fine.
sleep.
Well, this will be podcasted. but the other thing is, we've done one on the legalization of marijuana. If you really believe in legalizing marijuana, you need to listen to this. It gives you something to think about. And the newest killer in Kentucky is heroin. And we've done one on that. So go to LexingtonProsecutor.com and see what you listen in and see what you think.
We'll see you next week on In Touch.
Out of jail, okay? Don't mess up.
And those are the people, those repeat offenders, the ones that go to prison. And
I say we're the #1 rated radio show in the whole country.